Hello everyone, this is AlzaboHD with a brand new video for you here today. In this video, you'll be checking out some of the most unknown, rare, and hidden nations found in Europa Universalis IV. All of these nations lack cores, do not appear in the 1444 starting date, and require ridiculously specific prerequisites in order to appear. In all likelihood, you will never see any of these countries in-game, even after thousands of hours of playing. Let's get started with number 10. Hailing from the land of reindeer and eternal snow is Sápmi at number 10 on our list of rarest nations. Home to Scandinavia's only indigenous group, Sápmi is unlikely ever to appear in-game, as they have no cores at the 1444 starting date and are thus unreleasable as a nation. The only way to reliably get Sápmi to appear is via Sápmi separatist rebels, which itself is a challenge for Sweden and other Scandinavian countries, as Sápmi falls within their culture group. This is because nationalist rebels are very unlikely to appear in countries within the same culture group. Consequently, the best way to get Sápmi to appear is to conquer their provinces by a nation of an outside culture group, like Novgorod or Muscovy. Simply conquer the Lapland provinces and wait until the separatist rebels revolt. Once Sápmi rebels occupy land, they gain cores, which can later be used to release and play them as a nation. Coming in at number 9 on our list of unknown nations is the Franco-Canadian nation of Quebec. Formable by any former colonial nation in the Canadian colonial region, Quebec has never appeared in the thousands of hours that I've spent playing this game. This is more likely due to the fact that Canada is also a formable nation in the same colonial region, and the AI will inevitably choose this tag before succumbing to Quebecois trickery. If Quebec does become free, however, they have an abominable green, white, and red flag that is far uglier than the modern Fleur d'Elysée flag. Tabernacle and vive the Québec libre! Next up at number 8 on our list of most obscure nations is the island country of Malta. Given that Malta is a revolt tag country, meaning that it contains no cores in the 1444 starting date, getting Malta to appear at all is tricky business. This is because Malta as a province is cored under Sicily and Naples, meaning that any separatist rebels that appear will almost always be Sicilian or Neapolitan and not Maltese. To force Maltese independence, then, the player should start off by playing Aragon and then releasing and playing as Sicily. In order to get the Maltese separatists to spawn as Sicily, the player will first have to declare independence, secondly go to war with Naples to force renounce their core on Malta, and finally increase the revolt risk of Malta itself. This can be accomplished by decreasing autonomy and by conquering Muslim territory and getting religious rebels to occupy and convert the island. Once sufficiently pissed off, Maltese rebels will appear. Simply allow them to occupy the territory before driving them out and releasing Malta as a playable nation. Emerging from obscurity at number 7 is the multicultural state of Habsan. Mixing Indian and Afro-Cushitic culture, Habsan has the potential of emerging via event after 1500, with a mean time to happen, or MTTH, of 50 years. Habsan can only appear via event if a Muslim nation controls Konkan or Kunara and holds at least 2 ports. This chance increases if a nation controls the province of Chaul. With these prerequisites met, Habsan can appear as a march under the triggering nation, but most AI nations will declare war immediately and take back the separatist territory. If Habsan does appear though, it will have Amara as a primary culture, much like Ethiopia to their southwest. Reincarnating their way into number 6 on our list is Kalmyk, the Buddhist horde. Kalmyk was added into the game with the recent 1.27 Poland update and has proven itself to be an elusive nation. This is because Kalmyk can only appear by a highly specific event called the Arrival of the Kalmyks. This event can only trigger after 1600 if an Altaic cultured nation controls Karakoram and has a development of more than 200. Additionally, the nation that spawns the potential Kalmyk tag must not have their capital in the Astrakhan region, or else the event will only spawn peasant rebels. If these criteria are met, and if the spawning country is not at war and is not a subject state, Kalmyk might potentially appear on an average of 600 months or 50 years later. Due to the late spawn date and ridiculously long mean time to happen trigger for the event, Kalmyk is a nation most players will never likely see, and if they do, Kalmyk will likely reincarnate back into the ground, as the AI will quickly put down this bizarre unicorn of a nation. Did you like the movie Inception? What about a nation within a nation? Culture converting their way into number 5 on the list of most obscure nations is the nation of Darfur. Why is Darfur so obscure, you might ask? Probably because they can only appear as a nation without cores from a nation that does not exist in 1444, the Sudanese country of Funj. Funj generally appears by event after 1500, although it can be prevented if a country or player has colonized their provinces. If Funj does appear, though, Darfur can eventually appear as a revolter tag if their separatists ever appear and occupy territory. Given that Darfur is a revolter tag, you cannot simply release Darfur from Funge, as they do not own any cores or own any territory. You can, of course, embrace your inner warlord and help Darfur by destabilizing Funge the old-fashioned way. You too might one day be able to see this glorious nation. Well known by Victoria 2 players, but unknown in EU4, is the Islamic Emirate of Sokoto at number 4 on our list. Sokoto is incredibly rare, as it is only possible to form after an event in 1770 with very specific triggers. As most players quit their campaigns well before the 1700s, this in and of itself prevents the majority from seeing this paradise of Sharia law in Western Africa. If you are inclined to form Sokoto, you must own and core the province of Gobir as a heathen or unpious Muslim, and wait around 13 years after 1770 in order to invite the theocratic Usman Dan Fodio into your court. After this event fires and you lose massive amounts of stability, you will be able to form the Sokotan Caliphate. Since the AI almost never selects event outcomes that reduce stability, good luck seeing this nation ever form. On top of this, given that the formation of Sokoto is contingent on several events firing, even if you play a campaign into the 1700s as an African nation that fulfills all the requirements, you still might have the opportunity to form this hidden nation. Coming in at number 3 on our list is the German nation of Meissen. This country is so rare that I don't even know if it's still possible to play them, as I have ran into conflicting sources while doing my research for this video. Regardless, the tag still exists in-game, and thus they should be technically possible to appear in an unmodded Iron Man campaign. In order to get them to theoretically appear, you must start as Saxony, culture convert to another culture group, unaccept Saxon culture, move your capital, and decrease autonomy to spawn separatist Meissen rebels in Dresden. As a revolt tag, though, Meissen possesses no cores at the 1444 starting date, so if they do appear, you've witnessed the birth of a unicorn. Prost! Nearing the end of our list at number 2 is the ancient and obscure nation of Etruria. Getting this nation to appear is so convoluted and complicated that I've included a link to a guide in the description box of this video. In summary, forming Etruria is possible from the 1444 starting date by selecting Florence, conquering non-Tuscan culture provinces, forming Tuscany, culture shifting to said non-Tuscan culture province, losing Firenze via war, retaking Firenze before a nation gains a coronet via truce breaking, allowing Etrurian separatists to rise and take territory, and finally by killing the separatists once they core and occupy Firenze, Pisa, and Arezzo. From this point onwards, you can release Etruria with their 3 provinces as a vassal, and declare your independence from a severely weakened Tuscany. Bene, you have just materialized and formed the most obscure nation in Italy and in all of Europe. By far the most obscure and rarest nation at number 1 on our list is the Hakanese Bornean Merchant Republic of Lanfang. Lanfang can only appear as a revolter tag on the Bornean province of Pontiac if and only if the province has Hakka culture and the Confucian religion. Given that there are no Hakka tags, nations, or primary cultures in the game, a player that wants to form Lanfang must switch their primary culture to Hakka and colonize the needed provinces adjacent to Brunei. This can be done by selecting Ming, releasing and playing as you, destating your Cantonese provinces and stating your Hakka provinces, switching cultures to Hakka, colonizing the needed territory, losing a war on purpose to Brunei and ceding them the Pontiac province, switching your culture back to Cantonese, taking the province back from Brunei, and finally triggering separatist rebels in the province in order to establish Lanfang cores. Once the separatists occupy the territory, you can destroy them and release Lanfang as a playable vassal. Ooh, Confucius. Before ending the video, I would also like to mention the 2 Easter egg nations that are currently unavailable in-game without the use of console commands. These secret nations are Jan Mayen, the Polar Bear Nation, and the Synthetics, a robotic nation that is inspired from Stellaris. In order to form either of these nations, you must open the console by pressing tilde on your keyboard if you're using an English QWERTY keyboard, otherwise the symbol just below escape on international keyboards. Typing in "bear has landed" will spawn Jan Mayen in a random spot on the map. Likewise, typing in "synthetic dawn" will spawn the Synthetics, who will replace a random country. Both of these nations are incredibly overpowered and have access to the unique invasion casus belli. Whether you are a beginning player looking to play an easy nation, or a veteran player looking for the hardest challenge to play against, both of these secret nations are amusing and fun to add a bit of variety into your next campaign. That concludes my top picks for the rarest nations in Europa Universalis IV. What secret nations do you enjoy playing? Have you ever seen any of these nations in game? Do you agree with my list? Let me know in the comment box below. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.